Hey, is the Phoenix right, man? Is Phoenix right? How right is he? I don't know. Okay. Let me open up. When I'm in to get the sock. I had one sock to make it into the dryer, so I was waiting for it to finish drying. I'm still missing one, I don't know where it is. It's like a common thing. Always missing one sock and you find it the next time you do wash. I don't know how that really works, but you know, it's fine. Alright, we're good. I went to the inner temple that night and I saw what was happening in the garden. Saw Mystic Elise strike Mystic Maya with her staff. Mystic Maya was still stumbling. Mystic Elise moved to deliver a fatal strike. Tried desperately to defend herself and stole the weapon. Only in self-defense, but you cannot blame her for it. So it wasn't self-defense. Yes, Mystic Elise was the one who attacked first. That's why I tried my best to protect Mystic Maya. Moved the victim's body to the temple so that Maya wouldn't be suspected. Isn't that right? Not bad. You got the instincts of a true criminal. Isn't that quite right? I'm sure it was established yesterday that Iris never went to the inner temples that night. And that was the person who did it was that woman. Even Iris admitted it. Now then, Mr. Wright, please proceed with your cross-examination. What's the weapon? She moved and delivered a fatal strike. Yes, I'm sure of it. Threw down her staff and reached into her robe for a weapon. Oh, you utter fool. What was this weapon? It was some kind of dagger. A dagger, huh? At least Dawson tried to stab her with his weapon. To kill Miss Faye? Oh, you absolute fool. The sheer imbecile in front of me. Exactly. Not exactly. Ha. Look like you did, after I mistakenly took a swig of Worcestershire sauce. Excuse you? That stuff's so good. Do you have a problem with the testimony we're hearing from your client, lawyer boy? Do I have a problem with it? Absolutely, man. Yes, Your Honor. I have a small problem with the witness's testimony. You do? This witness is your own client. Yes, well, nevertheless, that's fine. Witness, let's add your last statement to the testimony. Yes, sir. Hey, just a moment, it's my job to say that. Bonk. Listen, Grams, I won't say it again. Final judgment will be rendered by me. Ah. Alright, now let's continue. Did not throw the staff away. Objection. Sister Iris, there's something strange about your version of events. Huh? Miss Dawson throwing her staff away and makes no sense at all to me. But all you can do with the staff is hit someone. Naturally, you wouldn't know the Sister Iris, but the victim's staff has a special feature about it. As you can see, it's a sword. Ah? If Elise Dawson really had wanted to kill Maya Faye, she wouldn't have needed to use a separate dagger. She would have already had a beautiful blade in her hands already. Dunk, dunk. Well, Sister Iris, what do you have to say? I... That was an impressive bit of investigating, right? I never would have thought there was a sword hidden in the staff. But even so, how should I put this? A long sword is unwieldy, and was quite ineffective in close quarters combat. Maybe that's why she chose a dagger over a blade. Well, anyway, type of weapon she chose to use isn't what's important. The important thing is to try to kill Maya Faye. As long as there's nothing strange about that, there's no problem with her testimony. There's something strange about the whole testimony. Well, Mr. Wright, the prosecution has a point. Very well, Your Honor. The defense will now present evidence to back its argument. Mr. Wright. I have here another piece of evidence that shows this testimony can't be trusted. Mrs. Darkstone would never attempt to take the life of Maya Fey, but she's actually Misty Fey? How do you... Oh, frick, man. Do we have information? I guess we just present herself. I don't know. The Darkstone would never have attacked Maya Fey. How can you be so sure? Because the victim's real name was not at least Darkstone. Her real name was Misty Fey. Fey. Not Mystic Misty Fey. Who is this Misty Fey is she related to? Misty Fey is a master of the Korean channeling technique. She's also the mother of Maya Fey. Are you serious? Is that really true, Mr. Wright? Mrs. Darkstone actually the great Mystic Misty? Mr. No doubt about it. I think Iris had no idea. I can hardly believe it. I knew that she would try to kill her own daughter when she hadn't seen in 17 years. Perhaps the prosecution can offer some explanation for why she would do such a thing. Critical hit. Ding-a-ding-a-ding. Order of the court. Upon first hearing the witness's testimony, it seems natural enough. However, in light of some facts that have just presented, one, that the victim supposedly threw away his sword during a fight, and two, that the two people battling to the death were mother and daughter, despite the facts being believable when taken on their own. When taken together, the entire story seems difficult to believe. Listen, there's nothing in this world that's impossible, except for one little thing. Yes, what is that one little impossible thing? Still don't get it. You think maybe my beans are under-roasted? We have no idea, Gramps. Could you get to your point? I heard this witness's confession this morning, just as I had taken the first sip of my 8th cup of morning coffee. You're going to ruin your health, my friend. Anyway, after hearing this woman's confession, I had a detective who loves to investigate sent to the scene of the crime, and he discovered this little beauty. Is that a dagger the witness testified to seeing? Obviously, Your Honor. But do you not notice something else? Not to mention that, if we look closely, there appears to be blood on it. Where'd you find that? I didn't see that when I investigated the crime scene. Did you investigate the pine tree at the crime scene? Huh? The pine tree. The dagger was stuck in the backside of the pine tree. When the last blow was struck, ending the violent battle between the two women, this little baby was thrown in the direction of the back of the pine tree, which means the blood and the dagger belonged to the victim, correct? Huh? Were you even listening, little man? First heard the confession this morning. Was that taking the first sip of my 13th cup of morning coffee? Didn't you just say 8th like a few minutes ago? I didn't have enough time to get my blood analyzed and such a short notice. In any case, the court will accept the dagger as evidence. Furthermore, I ordered that the blood test be performed on it immediately. Listen, my sweetheart, make sure you treat her right. It's a knife, man. Be able to get this piece of evidence to the crime lab for testing immediately. Dagger added to the court record. Now then, testimony we just heard had numerous unbelievable aspects to it. However, after having found the very dagger the witness spoke of, I believe we can consider her testimony to be credible. They never lie, ever. This is not true. In any case, witness, if you could please testify against the court. Again to the court. About what, Your Honor? About the incident you saw. About between the two women. Yes, Your Honor. The battle. Mystic Maya stumbled briefly after being hit over the head with her staff. And then she dodged Mystic Elise's next attack and stole her weapon. Suddenly, Mystic Elise was the one on the defense with her back to the stone lantern. My eyes? That's when Mystic Maya stabbed Mystic Elise. Mystic Elise managed to fling the knife away, but then she collapsed. That was a very heartbreaking story. I don't know if there was any bad feelings between them, but it had been 17 years since Mystic Misty's disappearance. Perhaps they simply didn't recognize each other anymore. Seems reasonable. Not at all. And then, Mr. Wright, proceed with your cross-examination. Wasn't she stabbed in the back? Also blood if I'm stabbing back. You freaking fools. Should I press? I'm gonna press first. Just there's no reason to press. What are you doing? Where is the autopsy? What are you doing? There you go. Something about you just isn't right today, Iris. Huh? Until now, I didn't think you were the type to make such a careless mistake. However, the testimony you just gave contains quite a few contradictions. What do you mean? What's so wrong about my testimony? According to you, Maya Fey stabbed the victim while she had her back to the stone lantern. Correct. Yes, that's right. But in that case, the victim would have been stabbed in the stomach, right? Yes, I think so. But according to the autopsy report, the cause of death was due to blood loss from the stab wound in her back. Ah, that proves that the victim was stabbed from behind and not from the front. Sister Iris, appears another seed of doubt has sprouted from your testimony. Gosh, it's flying away, man. The dunka. What is the meaning of this, Mr. Wright? Ha, it's simple. People are like books. We've all got a front and a back. You get my drift. And that's all you have to say? I'll also say the darkness loves to play with the human mind. Would you please knock it off with the cheesy proverbs and illogical metaphors already? Point is, too much of this testimony just doesn't make sense. Throwing away useful staff, people fighting between mother and daughter, and now she falsely claims the victim was stabbed in the stomach? There certainly are some inconsistencies. Well, Iris, how about it? Well, it's just... If you ask me, you're just being too naive about the whole thing. What do you mean? The dunka. There are 253 distinct types of bitterness in coffee, but to pick out each one requires total concentration and the use of all the senses. Were you really concentrating on what the witness actually said? Prosecutor could not explain herself. The witness was quite ambiguous about her own ambiguities when she said that the garden was dark and she couldn't see clearly. A human needs one thing to see clearly, and that is light. Light? Weren't they lit? By the way, did you know? Hazakura has a rule that the night when Nakaway is at inner temple training, the stone lantern in the garden must be kept lit. I do wonder what the stone lantern was there for. Well, if it's true, shouldn't the witness have been able to see the crime more clearly? Normally, yes, Your Honor. But according to the head nun, Sister Bikini, on the night of the crime, it was impossible to light the stone lantern. Impossible? It hadn't been used in a long time, and the wick was no good. In other words, it would have been nearly pitch black in the garden that night. There could have been a faint light coming from the training hall, but that's all. Most enlightening. And that illuminating fact has chased all the contradictions away. If the staff was dropped, it would be difficult to see. Also explains why they didn't recognize each other. We can see the demons that lurk in the night. That's why humans are weak. Isn't that right, Trey? No? Ding. Order. Here, Your Honor. Let me present the stone lantern in evidence. Maybe it will rekindle the flame of truth in your mind. It was not lit. Stone lantern added to the court record. Why is the judge just sitting there with a look in his face? What's wrong, Your Honor? Was the flame too hot? Was the lantern? Something written on it. What was written in blood? Oh boy. But the judge didn't know about that yet. Written in blood. It says Maya upside down? Or is this a cow? Or a cow? What the? Oh yes, that's right. After being cornered and stabbed by Mystic Maya, Mystic Elise didn't fall down right away. She must have been writing that on the stone lantern behind her. with the blood that was draining out of her body. Certainly looks that way. Objection. Hang on just a minute. What are you all talking about? What do you mean, what are you all talking about? Talking about the message written in blood. Oh, nonsense. There's a lantern, and there's a whistle. Could it be? You can't see the bloody writing at all? Now I think of it, he did say something to me yesterday. My eyesight's pretty messed up. Even with these huge goggles on my head, I still can't see everything. If that's what he meant by that. In any case, this is obviously an important clue. We now know that the crime scene was dark, and the victim scrawled his message on the stone lantern. Well, Mr. Godot, anything further? Mr. Godot? Alright then, let's move on. Literally shaking right now, and somehow, I don't think it's from caffeine overdose. I believe it has now been established. Miss Dawson was killed by IFA. That's just wrong. Now it's time to turn our attention to you. Yes, sir. After the victim died, you did something, didn't you? Let's hear it. We're all ears. Mr. Iris's cover-up. After Mystic Elise died, I called out the Mystic Maya. I thought it was my duty to protect the future master of the current tradition. So I removed the body from the inner temple myself, read it behind me all the way across Dusky Bridge, and I used a snowmobile to carry it back to Hazakura Temple and... Dong! I used this Shichichido to alter the way the wood looked. So you moved the body? Yes, I was raised at Hazakura Temple. I owe a great deal of thanks to the Fae clan, but even so I never imagined that Elise Dawson was actually Misty Fae. I've committed a terrible sin. Terrible trick of fate. I believe you're looking for a twist of fate, Your Honor. I intended to return to the inner temple after taking care of the body, but he was spotted by the head nun, correct? Yes, and that's when I couldn't go back. Your story makes sense, I suppose. Mr. Wright, go ahead with your cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Musically, he's tired. I call them. What time it was? Can you give me the time? The mobile? I knew that would show up sooner or later. Yes, I had the key. Use the snowmobile to travel from Hazakura Temple to Dusky. Can you give me the time, though? This is the part that was a question the other day. About the tracks with the time with the snow. Lulu didn't move her body by snowmobile, and there should be tracks left in the snow, right? Well, yes, naturally we expect tracks. Picture was presenting this to this trial. These tracks from the ride? Yes, I think they are. But I only see one set of tracks here. I don't see what's so strange about that. Snow was still falling when I left Hazakura Temple. I see, snow was still falling, huh? Then when the murder took place, it already stopped. And that's why there are such fresh-looking tracks. How about it, Mr. Wright? Well, we have confirmation that we were with you at 9:40 p.m., right? When it took place, the snow had already stopped. Doesn't make sense if you stack up against the other evidence. Your Honor, like the statement Iris just made to be added to the testimony, whether it has something to do with the case, all will be made clear if you allow our statement to be added to the court record. Ha. It should be fun. Let's get this snow business cleared up, shall we? Yes, sir. Alright, maybe we should press it. This is the only something we gotta go off of. This is time. A lot of contradictions in your testimony so far. This time, are you sure it's all true? Yes, I am. When the murder happened, the snow had already stopped. According to you, that's why the snowmobile tracks were so clear. That's right. I'm certain of it. I think I trapped her this time. See, you think snow, huh? What's going on here? Snow really has stopped by the time of the murder. It can be a bigger hole in the story than that movie, The Great Revelations. It doesn't exist. It's not a movie. I get it, but alright. Ding dong ding. Well then, Mr. Wright, perhaps you'd like to share your theory with us. Let's see what's up your sleeve, or rather, at the end of your index finger. Excuse you? I don't want to believe it, but I don't think my logic is failing me. I was just trying to pin the murder of Maya. Why would you want to do that? There's only one reason I can think of. I think it's off this. Sorry, it's off this, definitely. But I'm like, what else is he presenting with the weather data? And let me read this stuff again. After Mystic Elise died, I called out the Mystic Maya. I thought it was my duty to protect the future master of the Korean tradition, remove the body from the inner temple myself. Behind me all the way across the bridge. When I used the snowmobile to carry it back to the Hazakura Temple and used a Shishido to alter the way the wind looked. By the time the murder took place, the snow had already stopped. I mean, the snow stopped when the lightning struck, right? So the bridge would have been on fire by then. That means you would have had to drag her through a on-fire bridge. You can claim the snow had already stopped when the murder occurred. But I'm sorry, Iris. It's just not possible. What? This is the weather data from the night of the murder. According to this, the snow didn't stop until 10:50 p.m. But you couldn't have crossed Dusky Bridge at that time. Oh, why do you say that? Because 5 minutes before the snow stopped, Dusky Bridge was struck by lightning, and it caught on fire. What did you say? The bridge? It was on fire? Have you been absent this entire case? You don't mean to say you didn't know about that? Because of that lightning strike, the bridge burned down. What? But it can't. Can't be. Looks like you still haven't figured it out. No matter how hard you try to deceive or conceal the truth. You can't pull the wool over the eyes of the real defense attorney. No. Don't go. Order. The bridge was already on fire when the incident took place. That's right, the inner temple was already totally cut off from the outside world. Do they have the same eye color? Could this be Dahlia? Body or no body? Ah. Witness, even my patience has limits. Any further lying and I will find you in contempt of court. Do you have anything to say for yourself? The only person here that is truly contemptible is you. Old man. Me, how dare you? Sorry. Whether the witness lied or not doesn't mean squat right now. Squat. The important thing now is to find out the truth. Isn't that right? Yes, of course, but whether it was snowing or not snowing, or whether the bridge was burning or not, there were two facts that can't be disputed. First, the body of Willie's dachshund was discovered in the secure temple courtyard. And second, the head nun, Mr. Bikini, witness Iris, is creating Elise's dachshund's body. He's making a good point on both accounts. That's right. Not lying. What are you claiming this time? It wasn't myself at the night, so my memory is still somewhat hazy. You have stood at the witness stand and testified this entire time. Are you telling me now that your memory is hazy? It's only human to err. If you're so perfect, right, maybe you can explain this for the court. What is it? When the murder happened, the bridge had already burnt down. But somehow the body traveled across the bridge and was found in the temple courtyard. Perhaps you have some kind of perfect explanation of this brutal magic. I'm telling you, she got yeeted across the bridge. Not exactly, no. I know there must be some other way to get across the burnt-out bridge. You can somehow demonstrate it. Well, we'll never know the truth. Looks like the defense is not prepared to offer a suitable explanation. See what I mean? In other words, you're in no position to suggest that this lady's testimony isn't the truth. Get back. Someone threw her across this 20-meter bridge. I'm telling you. Let's hear your testimony once more. What, Your Honor? You admitted that you removed the victim's body. Nevertheless, your prior testimony contained a rather large inconsistency. Please add an explanation for that to your testimony. Yes, Your Honor. This will be your final testimony. Moving the body. Other than walking over the bridge, there's no way to move the body. So I must have just gotten confused, I guess. When the snow started falling or has it stopped, does it really matter that much? Or are you saying that there is a way to cross a burning bridge? Absolutely, you throw it across. So we're just a misunderstanding, I see. This is the photo of the sea bridge after it burned, down from lightning blast, taken on the morning after the incident. Surely was burned to a crisp, and one of the suspension wires even snapped. It's amazing that the whole bridge didn't fall. Clearly, it would be impossible to carry a corpse across a bridge in that condition. Let's do something to discredit this testimony. Going to be deemed as truth. And I will be accused of murder. Right, I'm only going to say this one more time. It's only human to err. And only humans can spot the errors of our ways. The more sense he makes, the less sense he makes. Alright, Mr. Wright, please begin your final cross-examination. Moving the body. You threw it. That's all I'm saying, is you threw the body across the bridge. That's all I can say. And I'm right. A dead body flying over a burning bridge. I wouldn't exactly rule out the possibility. What? Huh? Saying this is possible? Don't make me laugh. The only thing that's possible about your claim that has been pulled out of thin air. I don't know about that. In any case, we have a witness that did see it happen. Preposterous? Who is it? Who is this witness? And checking out here, I gotta keep on the attack and go. Miss Elise Dawson is a brilliant and highly gifted apprentice. There are other Dawson, a brilliant and highly gifted apprentice. Remember what he said in his testimony? But note he was at the mountains to check Heavenly Hall, and that's when he witnessed the event. I think you've all seen the sketch before. Exact drawing of what he witnessed that night. Are you serious? Today's not April Fool's Day, is it? You got him, Judge. You really got him. Mr. Wright, are you seriously claiming this is the victim flew through the air? Are you using this pathetic scribble to support your argument? Uh-oh. Judge looks like he's about to blow a gasket. Huh? Well, try, and there's nowhere for you to hide now. Other than looking like it was drawn by a 6-year-old, does the sketch prove anything? Yes, I'm pretty sure it does, and I'm going to prove it. Listen, I know your tricks. You're trying to turn this whole thing upside down. If you're so eager to turn this case upside down, I want to start with the sketch. Alright then, let's hear the defense's theory. what exactly is this sketch trying to show? I don't think old Whisker Face is going to forgive any more mistakes. Alright, Phoenix, look carefully and think it over. Sketch drawn by Lost Dawson is exactly what happened. Of course the victim was flying through the air. You can see it right here, this is the sketch, whoosh. You know, you're starting to remind me of yesterday's witness. What? I think I wanted to hear. I need evidence that the victim flew through the air. So you know, we haven't discovered a giant human catapult at the inner temple yet. Which they had. It's upside down. Even if you're a lousy lawyer, at least you're won the cup worth of entertainment. We should skip the penalty this time. Some way I just know it. Literally, it's upside down. We'll now return to her testimony. Yes, Your Honor. Oh my god, did I choose the wrong one? I thought we were going to say, we were going to push that one. And then say, because it's do this upside down. Literally, that's what I thought. I guess we would do this one then, right? The contradiction. One thing that's obviously funny about this sketch. No art critic, but even I can see that. No, that's not what I mean, Your Honor. Whereas Dawson stated it over and over, that this sketch was exactly as he saw it. However, we're to believe his testimony, and the sketch contradicts reality as we know it. Contradicts reality. Huh? This is getting interesting. I think you're back to that finger-pointing thing again. Okay, try it. So what exactly contradicts the realities shown here? This flying figure, naturally. After all, people haven't learned to fly yet, or did I miss something? Mr. Wright, that answer just now was lethal. Excuse me? Dragging us all the way to this point, this answer is embarrassing. Actually blushing. I guess I would do the wires. It's the picture's upside down. I don't know what the point is. Suspension. Wire connected to the bridge. There we go. The wire. Ha. Not the thing that contradicts reality. It is indeed. Show us the reality it supposedly conflicts with. Show us something that will point us out how this sketch contradicts reality. It's a photo of Dusky Bridge, correct? Yes. Now, compare the sketch with the photo for a minute. In this sketch, the wires appear to be above the guard wires. With the actual Dusky Bridge jumping Josaphat, the wires are below the guard wires. What? Order. The sketch is somewhat different than what's depicted in this photo. However, isn't it likely that the artist just saw it wrong? Or perhaps he just drew it wrong? Or the way it sounds like you were just wrong? With someone like Larice, I admit a mistake is a definite possibility. But then it begs the question, why did he make the mistake? What was the reason? Are you saying you know the answer to that? Listen, think back over it. Remember when Larice was doing what he witnessed this event? Heavenly Hall, waiting for a lover that was never going to come. He waited and waited, and finally he laid down. Oh my eye. But then, lightning shoots from the sky and it sets the bridge aflame. Now ponder what sort of position Larice must have been in the time. He was lying on his back, which is why I remember the scene that way he did. He was lying on his back? I can't see how it relates, but it does, Your Honor. This is the reason why the wires in the sketch go upside down. Go opposite down. No way. Louis Dawson witnessed the event while he was lying on his back face up. In other words, the scene that he saw, actually upside down. So then, the sketch should actually... I think you're finally getting it, Your Honor. Correct way to view Louis Dawson sketches like this. This is how it should actually look. The victim's body wasn't flying above the bridge. It was actually swinging below. That's right, it was like a pendulum. Ridiculous. Order. All the things to say. A pendulum? The bridge was burning to a crisp. There was no other way to get it across. But if the body had been found in the inner temple, it would have caused problems. This is where the criminal decided to take a gamble. They used the burning bridge to get the body across to the other side. And a pendulum was the only way to get it done. Let's think this about this for a minute, shall we? This bridge is about 20 yards long, which means it's about that far from the inner temple to the opposite cliff. Yes, that sounds about right. In order to cover the distance with a pendulum, you need a rope at least 10 yards long. To get a rope that long, you need to plan ahead. Objection. Lightning strike that night can only have been an accident. So it doesn't make sense that the culprit would have prepared the rope beforehand. So then, they didn't have to get the rope ready. The rope was already right in front of them. What? I'm saying that it was just a matter of using that what was already there. In that case, Mr. Wright, please give us an explanation to support your theory. What makes you think the criminal had a rope on hand to create a pendulum? And the meaning of this? If you want to know where the rope came from, hanging right there in front of the glorious beard. Your glorious beard. Ah, this is one of the wires from the bridge. When the lightning struck the bridge and set it on fire, one of the suspension wires came loose from its anchor. The criminal didn't have any time to waste, so they tied the wire around his doctor's body. Oh my god, dude. Because there was simply no other way to move the body. Ah. Glug glug glug. Now he's thirsty, man. Mr. Godot. Seems that Mr. Godot is more focused on his coffee than answering my question. Seems that the odds of the rope being readily available were very high, but suppose it is not an impossibility after all. Objection. Possible or impossible? That's not the question we need to ask. Only one question. Did that really happen? Right. I wonder if you can prove what happened to us. Do you have any actual evidence that the body was swung like over like up in the pendulum? Oh frick. You didn't fall. Before I present my evidence, let me review what we know so far. According to this photo, one of the wires snapped. Looking at this map, you can see that it was on the one that was in the front of the inner temple. So then, that was the spot where the criminal. Yes, precisely. Now let's consider the body's movement by looking at the overhead map again. The body was pushed from this point here. It would drop at the opposite bank at approximately this point. Did you say drop? Yes, that must have failed to catch the body under the bank. What makes you think something like this happened? Does it have evidence that suggests her body dropped some distance? What kind of evidence? Take a look at this autopsy report. It says here that her body fell about 10 feet from her after her death. 10 feet, huh? It's most likely the height difference between the two sides. The body overswung due to the forward momentum, but then came loose and fell about 10 feet. And as a result of the landing impact, this crystal sphere was knocked loose. That's this blood-stained amethyst crystal. That one that came off Miss Lee's Dawson's staff. And even more important is this place where the crystal sphere was found. Indeed, I believe it's already marked on this overhead map. Crystal was found? Ah. Precisely, Your Honor. The very spot where the pendulum would have arrived was given the right amount of speed. This explains your theory quite well, Mr. Wright. You have provided us with the way the body could have been moved that night. An impressive deduction, Mr. Wright. Most impressive. Mr. Wright? This man has like a fever of 102. We just throw coffee at him. Oh, this cold coffee might help cool you down. You know what? Thank you. What's the meaning of this, Mr. Godot? What's on fire, baby? That was a dark and bitter guess that you made, Trite. But you forgot about one thing. Oh? What would that be? The aroma. Huh? Kobe's most reliable accomplice is his deep and profound aroma. The rest of the court doesn't speak Cockneyese. Can you elaborate a bit more? If the criminal has sent the body to the other side like you say, then naturally there must have been an accomplice lying in wait to catch it. An accomplice. The criminal wasn't able to cross Dusky Bridge, so he planted the body. What do you have to say about that, Trite? Mr. Godaz is correct. This can't be the work of a single person. Well, Mr. Wright, you know what you must do. Yes, Your Honor. The body couldn't have made its way to Hazakura Temple without an accomplice. Very well then, if you please, Mr. Wright. Who was the person that received the body on the Hazakura Temple side? That was Iris. It can only be you, Sister Iris. Huh? But I don't see why you're so surprised. The only way to transport the body from Dusky Bridge is by a snowmobile. But with her bad back, Mr. Bikini could never pick up a body like that. You're the only one who could manage it. Trite, were you even listening to the witness's testimony? The night of the crime, little cutie pie was on cleanup duty in the inner temple garden at the bloodbath. I haven't forgotten. What have you, Mr. Godaz? Witness was also seen at Hazakura Temple, desecrating the corpse of the victim. Strange indeed. Almost as if, on the night, the defendant was in two different places at the same time. Sister Iris, let me ask you something. Why didn't you mention it when you first gave your testimony? Mention what? The pendulum, of course. Using the sketch drawn by an eyewitness. I have established how the body was moved, using the burned-out bridge. Which means it is now a fact that this occurred, something that you should have already known. No, I had no idea. I didn't know anything about the pendulum. But the body couldn't have been passed along to the other side without your help. You should have known about it. In fact, it'd be impossible for you to be clueless about the whole thing. Unless you're not really Iris to begin with. What? How could you say that, Mr. Wright? What kind of nonsense is this? You're saying the witness isn't the Iris of Hazakura Temple? Are you serious? Trite? You mean? This woman is... There's no one besides Iris that could have received that corpse that night. No, I get it. Now I know why I've been stuck to my stomach at this whole trial. And why her hole in the mirror changed so suddenly from yesterday. Why is she trying to pin this murder on Maya? The woman standing there at the witness stand. Her real name is Dahlia Hawthorne. Not deceased. Never thought I'd have to utter your name again, let alone see you. It's been a long time, Dahlia Hawthorne. Hawthorne. Mr. Iris had a twin sister. And you're looking at her. It's Dahlia Hawthorne. That name rings some bells. Distant bells, but bells nonetheless. It's your imagination, Gramps. This file contains all the relevant data about Dahlia Hawthorne. Dunk-a-dunk, dunk-a-dunk. Oh yes, I remember now. That case. 5 years ago. My name is Dahlia Hawthorne. I just want to say, it's an honor for me to be here in your noble presence. The honor is all mine. No, the honor is all mine. Sorry, but according to this, Dahlia Hawthorne is already dead. It says your execution was carried out last month. So what? Death has no meaning in this courtroom. Order, order, order. Wait a moment. How can you? My sister is already dead. What kind of objection? You all people should already understand. After all, The blood of the master of the carrion channeling technique flows within the body. The carrion channeling technique. And where have I heard that? That's right, you're not Dahlia Hawthorne herself. You're the spirit of Dahlia, currently inhabiting the body of the spirit medium. One exciting story. Exciting, but quite impossible. Asking one of us to buy the Dahlia Hawthorne just happened to be channeled by someone on the very night of the murder to the temple where her twin sister Iris was. If you want to put things that way, then yes. Objection! We're supposed to believe a coincidence like that just happens? Naturally, it was no coincidence. The whole thing was part of a plan from the very beginning. It's all written right here in these instructions. What's that? These instructions were written by your mother, Morgan Fay. And part of the plan called for Dahlia Hawthorne to be channeled. That night, there was 2 irises at Hazakura Temple. 2 of them? Even the time the channeling was planned out. As soon as you hear the let's out bell, in other words 10 p.m. However, Iris was seen before dinner time. That means the Iris that was there was the real Iris. And the Iris who gave me this hood at the main hall was also the real Iris. Meaning the Iris Sister Bikini saw at the inner temple was someone else dressed as her, namely one Dahlia Hawthorne. Do you even know what you're trying to say, Trey? This whole channeling the spirit of Dahlia Hawthorne business? Yes, it's true that you found plan to talk about it. However, one thing that's perfectly clear, the witness currently standing in this witness stand is the real Iris. What? Huh? Calm down and remember what you know about the night of the crime. After meeting Sister Bikini, Dahlia Hawthorne that had been channeled would have been stranded at the inner temple due to the lightning strike. It was later that the body was moved by a pendulum. That's right. Naturally, that would mean that the Iris that received the body was the real Iris. Are you just putting it so far? Yes. After being notified of what happened, the police came to Hazakura Temple's main hall. There they found Iris in a room and arrested her. And ever since, she's been under police supervision at the detention center. Yes, I suppose I can't deny any of that. Thank goodness. Looks like he's finally convinced. But something still seems off, way off. He's not convinced that the Iris here is the same one from the other night. Ha. I suppose you're ready to say something really ridiculous. Like, the real Iris and the spirit of Dahlia? Somehow switch places? Switch places? To be perfectly honest, there are still quite a few things I don't understand, but I do know that unless we confirm the witness' identity, we cannot continue with this trial. Iris doesn't have the spiritual power needed to channel Dahlia, which means they must have switched places somewhere. Well, Mr. Wright, since the time she was arrested at Hazakura Temple, has there been any chances for Iris to switch places with Dahlia Hawthorne? There was one. Your Honor, I think there might have been one chance. Oh, explain yourself. Yesterday, for a few minutes, Iris' whereabouts were unknown. Unknown? What do you mean? What I mean is, there was a span of time in which Iris was unable to move about freely unsupervised. Well, who was it? Who would give a murder specific time to move about freely like that? Sorry, I know you didn't mean to. It wasn't your fault. The person who gave Iris a chance to move freely about was Mr. Edgeworth, who was later. He's right there. This is Mr. Edgeworth, isn't it? I need to walk away for a minute here, so hopefully this is the end of the the day, or the part. Your Honor, there was a fairly large earthquake yesterday, was there not? An earthquake. An earthquake? Oh my goodness! The inner temple, the kind of tremor might. How could I have? She fled. She escaped. We went to the inner temple right away. And it's true, Iris was already there. However, they had already switched places by that point in time. When I arrived at the training hall, by none other than Dahlia Hawthorne. Dunk, 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 dunk. That's quite enough already, Mr. Wright. Now see here. No judge in his right mind wouldn't be quiet. Been a long time, Mr. Judge. That voice. I have to ask again. I'll be right back. Hold on. Let me say this.